Welcome to Retirement Ramblings. I'm Scott, and today is day 97 on my countdown to retirement, plus a quick catch up on days 98 and 99. I'm sorry that I missed those 2 days, but work has been absolutely heads down this week, so I just couldn't make the videos. So if you're interested in the catch up, please stick around. So for day 99, I was heads down all day building a potential 2026 strategy and commercial cloud storage model, literally until my eyes couldn't focus. So I started around 8 a.m. in the morning and I kept working through until about 10 in the evening. I took a break to watch about 20 minutes of a portion of the halftime report that I had recorded, just to give my eyes a break for the distance. And then I also ended up at the end of the day logging into my brokerage account just before the close and moved any remaining money that I had that was in uninvested cash into money market SNSXX, and then went back to again doing the storage strategy report until I went to bed. Like I just was wiped on Wednesday, day 99. Then Thursday, day 98, I continued working on that 2026 cloud storage strategy in between the meetings that I had. On Thursday, my son also drove down for an interview in Charlotte. So he lives in Raleigh, so it was like a 4-hour drive down. He met with several vice presidents along with the president of the company and spent about 4 hours between the different people that he interviewed with, and then drove 4 hours back. So it was a long day for him. And they were very satisfied with him, and they then said that they want to bring him back, but this time they want him to come in for a long weekend, like a Friday to Sunday, in Greenville, South Carolina, which is one of their other offices. And it's the office that they'd actually want him to work out of at least 3 days a week, should they offer him the position and he decide to accept it. And it's a leadership role that for this particular company, the reason he's going through such a long process meeting with so many different people is this company historically, and I believe it's been around for about 20 years, has done all of its leadership, all the leadership rank is made up of people that have been promoted from within. This will be the first position ever that they go outside the company for an external hire, should it be him or anyone else for that matter. And that's because for what they're looking for in this particular role, they just don't believe that they have candidates internally that are qualified to meet all of the different aspects of the position that they're creating. So he'll go down and meet with the folks that would work for him, and likewise the leadership team there will be able to get feedback from those folks with regard to whether or not they think they have the right interpersonal relationship or interpersonal communication skills with him that wouldn't cause problems from a cultural perspective. So presumably that'll happen in the next week or so. Then I talked to him about the appointment he and my daughter-in-law went to a birthing center for their very first check-in with the doctors, midwives, whatever at that facility. They ended up saying that they were super happy with the selection. The people there were all really nice. They liked the process that they'll go through. One of the things I found really interesting was that they'll start going through monthly classes, and then as she gets closer to her due date, classes will go from monthly to bi-weekly to weekly, and she'll be doing it with other women and their husbands or partners that all deliver in the month of April, which is what the target delivery for my daughter-in-law is. So they'll kind of progress together, and it'll give the women and potentially the partners a chance to interact with a larger group of people that are going through a common experience, if you will. so that they can potentially build a community among themselves, so that either up to or post delivery, they can potentially do like mommy and me lunches, or other things to help facilitate the transition from being, an empty nester with their first child to now having their first child. So I think it's interesting the way that they're approaching it at this particular facility. So I thought that was interesting. They also drew blood, and from what I understand, one of the markers that they're going to test for is the baby's sex. And so uh, my daughter-in-law and son want to know what it is, I guess, because my daughter-in-law wants to be able to have the nursery set up for whatever the color scheme is for whatever sex the child's supposed to be. She doesn't like the idea of have something neutral and waiting to the last minute and then tweaking anything after the fact. So uh, so they're going to find out. I think in 2 weeks, as he said, they would have the results back. Then, after speaking with him, I ended up running out with my wife really quick to Costco. Ended up purchasing a package of not New York, about a package of top sirloin steaks to augment the meat I had in the freezer. And then I also, just as we were walking through, it was one of those impulse buys, which I usually do not do, but they had a teak cutting board that was extra large in its depth. So one of the things that for me that I have a problem with is I'm chopping and stuff is like moving further and further up the board. And so I always have to wipe off the top of the board because it like falls off onto the countertop. This board is like probably 4 to 5 inches wider, or I guess higher, taller than the board that I had. So I bought it. Plus, it looks cool. It's a butcher block looking teak block, and I'll show you a picture. But anyway, uh, I've had the other board that I used for a really long time. My wife liked the way it looked. It was much bigger, like I said, and so for me, I was like, let me see if I can actually do this in a way where it doesn't all go flying off, which I think it will work out okay. And then the other thing that was interesting is the board, even though I'm not going to use it for this, the board at the very top, again, where it would normally fall off, has a slot built in that you can put like a tablet or a phone or something. If you're looking at a recipe, or, if you're like me, old timer, like you might put a clipboard there or something that has your recipe on it, and it'll actually stay in the board, kind of on an angle. And then on the flip side, it's a reversible board. On the flip side, it's got channel grooves all around the outside, so that if you happen to use it as a carving surface, any of the juice will, excuse me, will run and stay within the grooves, and then you can just take the board over to your sink, and clean everything out, which I thought was also interesting. And then we needed to pick up some half and half, so we got that as well. Then I called my buddy who I had taken last week when he had his cataract surgery. I brought him home, or took him for his follow-up. He had his next follow-up on Thursday. He'd been doing the drop routine for trying to get his pressure down post the operation, at least in one of the eyes. He ended up getting the pressure now down under 20, so it's 19 in one eye and 13 in the other. So the doctors now released him to go back to his retina specialist for kind of a final sign-off. But he ended up with 20/20 vision in one eye, 20/30 vision in the other eye. So he's gone from wearing Coke bottle glasses for the entire probably 30 years I've known him to no glasses at all, which is, when you see him, like I'm used to seeing him with a baseball cap on and glasses. And now I can see the cap, but there's no glasses, and it looks really, I have to get used to that. But, to go from basically being legally blind in one eye to have 20/20 and 20/30, like, to me, that's a huge win. So, and I'm sure he feels the same. So anyway, he's going to set up the appointment to go to his retina specialist, and then after that, they should discharge him, and he should just go back for an annual eye visit after that. So, I think that's pretty good. Then I took 2 pounds of the top sirloin that I bought at Costco, ended up making that on the grill, and that ended up being our dinner. And then I had leftovers, which I put in the fridge for the next day. Then I went back to work on my cloud strategy, and I did that again until I went to bed. Again, that's one of the reasons why I haven't done a video. Then day 97, today, I had early morning meetings with my team in Riga, Latvia, and then I worked on that cloud strategy again until my next meeting, which was at 11:30 with the folks that I have to work with in Stamford, Connecticut. Then I went back to the strategy document until 2:30. Then, because it's 4x fuel points on Friday for Kroger, I ran out real quick to Kroger. I was probably going for 30 minutes, ran out, picked up some things that I needed, got my 4x fuel points. Then I came back, caught up with my sister. My niece had been well, I'm going to say in and out of, but she started going to the ER on Monday because she was vomiting and they couldn't stop the vomiting. They gave her IVs for fluid, then they discharged her. Then next day, she never stopped vomiting, so she was back in the ER the next day. More fluids. They were discharging her again. Didn't stop the vomiting. Back in the ER again. They finally admitted her to the hospital, filled her up with fluids, electrolytes, and then they came to a specific diagnosis. They shared the diagnosis with my sister, and they kept her there now until today, and she's supposed to be discharged. And I think they finally got the vomiting to stop. She's supposed to be discharged tonight, or tonight or late afternoon. I haven't caught up to find out if she's actually been released. And then it was back to my strategy document. And while I was working on a strategy document, I took 2 large chicken breasts, put them in the oven on 350 for 55 minutes with some seasoning and some olive oil. Let them bake while I worked on the document. When my Fitbit alarm went off and told me that it was 55 minutes, I stopped what I was doing. I went back in. I took them out of the oven, tested to see what the internal temperature was. It hit the 165 I was targeting. Then I mixed up. I used some Better Than Bouillon chicken broth concentrate. Mixed that up with 2.5 quarts of filtered water. Brought that to a boil. Added in some seasoning. Diced up the chicken. Threw the chicken into the bouillon mixture with the seasoning, and then voila, it became chicken soup. So I let that cook for about 45-50 minutes. Simmer, so slight bubbling for about 45-50 minutes with all the seasonings and the chicken in there. And that soup later became our dinner. Again, I was working on that strategy document while that was cooking. And then I finally finished the document, mailed it off to our CTO for him to review first of the week, because we're in the 2026 budget cycle. And if he wants to move forward with any components of this, he needs to have anything included in the budget starting next week. So, and then I also sent out my weekly status report. So that catches you up on kind of everything I've been doing for the last 3 days. My plan is after this video to give my mom a call to catch up with her and see what's going on there. But that's my update for today and the last 2 days. So if you have any questions or any comments, please leave them in the comment section down below, or drop me an email at myretirementramblings@gmail.com. Otherwise, I hope you have a great evening, and until tomorrow, and it will be tomorrow, take care.